everybody. Welcome to WGSN, Going Solo Network and New Streaming Network. My name is PatriciaJPenke, and the name of my show is PJ, the Bold Treasure Hunter. Okay, I'm going to give you a scenario here, so I'm acting this out. Okay, oh my goodness. Auntie Etna has just died. What am I going to do with all this crap, all this stuff she saved, all this junk? Well, I'm just going to start throwing it away. Okay, we got some that old fabric. You know, we got some old perfume bottles, stuffed animals, and oh my gosh, what do we got? What else do we got here? Well, an ink pen, you know, some old spices, and what the heck, a Santa Claus here. Yeah, oh my God, look at this, an old lighter, what the heck? All right, so I'm just gonna make this easy for the estate sale company, and I'm going to throw all this away because this is nothing but trash. Well, folks, you just did what? Threw cash in the trash. All right, so we're going to talk about that today and keep you from throwing cash in the trash. Of course, now I got to dig it back out of there. So anyways, thank you to my daughter for lending me some $1 bills. Anyway, so I'm going to talk to you first about vintage stuffed animals, mainly Rushton. Rushton, the name Rushton Company, it was out of Atlanta in the mid-century, from like 1940s to 1970s. So while I'm still digging out this trash, a gal named Mary Rushton came up with a stuffed animal, and it happened to take on some meaning with folks, and so she's able to start a big company. And you know, into the 1950s, she was making, or the company was making 10,000 what you call stuffed animals, plush dolls with rubber faces, the rubber face dolls. Okay, so this is an example of a rubber face doll. Okay, so this is the only one I could find here, but this is a Santa Claus. They made Santa Clauses as well, but they also made a lot of animals like sheep. Here I have an example of a rabbit, and I'm going to use my cheat sheet to talk to you about a few of these things here. Okay, so this bunny sold for $738. Okay, the most valuable of the Rushton rubber-faced dolls, you know, stuffed dolls, was the Starline. And that was about the 1950s. And I'm not joking, guys. Some of these stuffed animals sell for $2,000 to $3,000. Most people would look at it and be like, oh my God, get rid of it. First of all, let me tell you, a stuffed animal does not carry bacteria from that long. But if you say, well, hey, it might have mold or something on it, just take some alcohol and spray it on the stuffed animal, like just kind of 6 inches away from the stuffed animal, or some vodka, whatever, something with alcohol base that kills all bacteria, germs. You don't have to worry about it. But the thing is the characteristics of these Rushton dolls. They were just cute. They make you happy. Dopamine decor for a kid's room. Everybody loves them. But the very first thing people do when they have an estate sale, or before they hire an estate sale, I should say, is throw away the stuffed animals. So, you know, that I talked to you a little bit about Rushton. I want to mention some of the more popular Rushton dolls. Zip the Chimp. This is a picture of Zip the Chimp. Okay, and I have here the Santa. Here's another Santa Claus. He sold for $120. Like I said, most of these dolls, if they're in good condition, can sell for over $1,000. Don't believe me? Look it up on eBay. Put in your completed auctions or sold auctions. Put in Rushton dolls. And you will see, and like they call them dolls because they had rubber faces, but they're actually stuffed animals with rubber faces that they were hand painted. So please, when you go to grandma's house or great auntie's house, don't throw away the stuffed animals until you let the estate sale company check it out first. Okay, so that is the first subject I'd like to talk to you about. I want to show you a couple of other stuffed animals that you remember. Okay, Care Bear. All right, so the 1980s Care Bears, here's Care Bear. Actually, I had to make my children's Care Bears. I had to sew them because we didn't have the money to buy the actual Care Bear themselves. But right now, these guys are worth about $40, $50 if you sell them in good condition. This guy here, and I'm going to look him up here. I can't remember. I think his name is Squabbles or something like that. My kids had one. It drove me nuts because it makes noise. Okay, Chubbles. Well, oh my God. Yeah, you can hear him. He's still chubbling away, whatever. Okay, so this guy in working condition can sell for $50, $60. And I mean sell, I don't mean asking price. Okay, then we have, do you remember the Land Before Time? Okay, these little guys can sell for $30, $40. This is just stuff I found here that, to talk to you about. Let's see what else we have here. All right, something else I want to talk to you about. Boyd's Bears. Now, Boyd's Bears are not as popular as what we just talked about. I know this was a big thing in the 1990s into the 2000 millennium. Anyways, if you find a particular larger one that's rare, you could get 100 to 200 maybe. But most of them that you collected, Boyd's Bears, creamsicles, Beanie Babies. We'll talk about Beanie Babies later, but not so much. Franklin Mint plates. You can't give away Franklin Mint plates. That's not where it's at. I'm going to tell you where it's at, and that's not it. All right, so we're going to put the stuffed animals back in here, and I also want to talk to you about, okay, so what are some of the other popular stuffed animals? Well, pop culture, 70s, 80s. So it would be like Teletubes, Papa Lambs by Fisher Price sell for $300 each. If they're in their box, probably more than that. Glowworms, remember glowworms? If you can find them in the box, again, $100. Let's see here. Oh, okay, I want to talk about the 1990s just a little bit because I just discovered this myself. Okay, so then we have this 1990s Sonic Adventure 2 soap shoes, Sega Sonic Team Hedgehog. Guess what he's selling for, guys? Well, they're asking $8,000 something. But yeah, some of these stuffed animals are just, again, it's pop culture. So what you had as a child, you kind of want to just set that somewhere in a corner and just look at it when you're having a bad day. And that's why these guys are worth so much money. And there's so many more. You just have to scroll online. But I'm just telling you, before you throw out those stuffed animals, especially if you know they're like Fisher Price, Play School, Elf. Remember Elf from 1986? He's worth money. And another one that I want to talk to you about, here's a picture of that one, is the Monster. This guy here sells for like $500 to, My Pet Monster, $500 to $1,000 by Am Toy. So here's a picture of the My Pet Monster. Okay, so I think we're going to be moving on here. I've covered that. So the show is going to be, as the header says, 5 vintage valuable items that most people throw away. So I picked 5 items, and I'm probably going to end up doing 6 here because I see 6 here. So we'll talk about that. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is ink pens. Okay, so I just found this is a fountain ink pen, and I'm going to bring this up closer here so you can see the end. It's called a nib, N-I-B. All right, so the ink pens that had the the little you dip the ink in the inkwell from the late 18th century or 19th century into the early 20th century. Some of these nibs, or most of them, were made of gold. And the reason they were made of gold is because the ink worked with the gold so to not cause corrosion to the metal. So they use gold. So if you throw an ink pen, a fountain pen away, you better check on, and here's a photo that shows a close-up where it says 14K. Okay, so this is an ink pen that sold, for like $300. And let me look at my notes here. Okay, so some of them can be 14 karat or 18 karat, and they could be marked 585, which is the same thing as 14 karat. All right, and so some of these, the fountain pens were made by Waterman Company, and they were gold, rolled gold plated or filled. So it doesn't matter, even if it's gold plated or filled, it can still sell for a couple $100. Now, the ones that are actually 14 karat gold, more than that, or 18 karat gold. Okay, so when you go on to the 1920s to the 1950s, if you find these, again, the fountain pens, but also regular ink pens, I have a set here. I'm going to just show you. This is a set by Pierre Cardin. Now, this set is not worth much. That's just, that's not gold filled or 14 karat gold or anything like that. But there are sets out there by Tiffany and Company, Courtier, some of the Mont Blanc that are, they could be solid gold, like some of the ink pen, which means the caps, the trim, the clips, any of that can be gold. You've got to get yourself a gold tester. You can get them on Amazon. They're great. You just make a little scratch on a slate, and it'll tell you if that's gold. If the scratch stays on the slate and you put the solution down, I think we talked about this before, then that means that it is 10 karat, 14 karat, 18 karat. Each vial of certain acid will tell you what you end up seeing on the slate. Okay, so other companies from the 1920s, 1950s. Cross, Parker, Schaefer, Anson. Okay, so, all right, so I think that you get the point with the ink pens. Just kind of make sure before you grab that bunch of ink pens and you throw it in pencils, you clean out the desk drawer, that you are checking for gold, because you could be actually throwing gold into your trash can. All right. So here's another, I wanted to show you this 14 karat gold. This is another one that sold for like over $1,000. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is perfume bottles. All right. So I'm going to push these back here. All right. So here we have an empty bottle, a vintage bottle of Shalimar. Okay. It's empty. There's just a little bit left in there. But people want that the old perfect perfume back. They want the eau de toilette. They want the colognes. I mean, I myself have some Tigress. Here, I'm going to show you a picture of the Tigress. Somebody wants $340 for a full bottle of Tigress. I love that smell. I also had Isatis by Yvette Saint Laurent, I believe it was. Those scents, I don't know about you, but I'm not liking the scents they have anymore. But anyways, so all right, back to the perfume. We go by vessels. Okay, so vessel meaning the bottle. If it's Baccarat or Lalique Crystal, you have got yourself quite the treasure. This is a picture of the Shalimar Guerlain. They're asking $700 for it. It's in an Art Deco bottle. Then the next photo is a Nina Ricci, La Air du Temps. This gal is asking $1,900 on Etsy. And then we have some Yvette Saint Laurent Opium Eau de Toilette. They're asking $298. And even men's cologne, such as this bottle of men's Aramis cologne in a sealed bottle. That means everything. 1970 selling for $1,200. So what I'm trying to tell you guys, like this way in the box, you know, this one's that's probably worth a couple $100. I went to a garage sale, or actually it was an estate sale, and I went down into the basement, and they had a closet down there. When I opened it up, it was full of new, old stock perfume and colognes. The gal had worked at JCPenney's counter from the 1960s, and she would just store them in the closet. I mean, she wanted $5 a piece for them. I think I bought like 14 of them, and I made really good money off of that. So here's again, this is British Sterling cologne for men. And I'm going to ask my husband to get me my Tigress bottle in the bathroom. This is some more men's cologne. It depends on the brand, the scent, the bottle, the rarity. So all those things come into play. Now you say, yeah, but it's old perfume. It does not matter. If it was kept in a dark, cool place like that basement closet, it's just as good as new, and especially if it's sealed. Now, if it was set in the sunlight and it looks discolored, it's no good, but it still might have a nice bottle. So, you know, think about those things. This is one of the first things people throw away when they are cleaning. Like, oh, I'm going to get ready for the estate sale company. I'm going to clean out everything in the bathroom. Some other time we're going to talk about Gillette razors. Don't throw away all your Gillette razors, okay? Because they have codes on them. And people collect those as well. There's a lot of things in the bathroom of somebody that has just passed away that say is maybe in their 80s or 90s. Okay, and here's my bottle of Tigress. Okay. Now, this was, when I got it, it was about a half full. And it still smells like the 1970s. That brings back some good memories of when I was hot. Yeah, like 16 years old. Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about the perfume. Just do your research on vintage colognes, perfumes, especially Paris, anything from Paris, New York, good stuff. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is fabric. Now, I can't talk to you about everything about fabric, but I want to talk to you about this particular cloth. Now, the pattern is a Western pattern, and these were curtains that we actually cut down from some windows in a basement. We asked the lady if we could do that, and she said it was fine. Well, what can you do with that? You can make some mighty fine pillows with that. You know, I think that would be cute in a boy's bedroom. Of course, I washed them. They had been in the window for quite a while. And this is another piece of bark cloth. Now, I don't know if you can, I'm going to bring this up close to you so you can maybe see the thickness or the nub. It's like nubby. It's very thick and nubby. And it's not the original bark cloth from way back in Egyptian times. This is a modern bark cloth. Okay, so the story about bark cloth. They started making bark cloth in Hawaii. So most of the patterns you see are tropical, such as this picture here that shows a floral red and yellow pattern. Okay, so that particular floral pattern is selling price is $750 on eBay. I'm sorry, that's Etsy. Okay, so the next one is this tropical print on Etsy again. It's only 2 foot by 2 foot. That's what it measures, and they're asking $325. Okay, next you have another popular bar cloth print that would be the atomic print, you know, like Sputnik or amoebic shapes, or, you know, anything that reminds you of the mid-century shapes and forms, space age. So those prints are, yeah, they're pretty popular as well. Here's a print that's asking price $288. Now, I just sold this particular bar cloth via the bolt. I had a large bolt of it, and it ended up to be, I believe, 20 yards. We sold one section for $360 and one for $350. So I made $700 and I paid $5 for it. So again, fabric, do not throw fabric away. And like I said, just remember that bar cloth is very thick, very bold prints, very happy prints. You can make pillows, curtains, blankets, whatever you want. You know, it's up to you. Again, people use it as accent pieces. All right, so much for the fabric. I'll put that aside. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is lighters. Especially Zippo. Okay, so this is not a lighter. This is a keychain, but you see Zippo. Okay, my father used to go garage sailing it. If he didn't see anything there, he'd go Zippo. Move on. So there was some good memories. But okay, why is this so important to talk about Zippo? All right, so here is a World War II. They call it crackle paint lighter. I do believe it's a 5-barrel, but I'm not sure. This one is selling, they're asking $1,850 for it. Okay, so if you find a Zippo lighter with a Varga girl on it, which is kind of, you know, sexy gals from the mid-century, Marlboro Man, that's a separate lighter, Marlboro Man lighters. And of course, there are other ones. I'm going to talk to you first about the Zippo. Okay, how can you date a Zippo? Okay, this particular Zippo is a three barrel. What is the barrel? Right there on the edge, the hinge. 3-barrel. Okay, then you look at the chimney. How many holes does it have? So you have to count the holes, and then you would put that, the barrel has, you know, I mean, the chimney has so many holes. Okay, now this particular Zippo, I checked the writing on the bottom that says Zippo, patent pending, made in the USA, Zippo company, whatever. Okay, so why is this important? There is a chart online that talks about how they wrote Zippo, how they stamped it, and that helps you to date your lighter. Like I dated this one. I looked at exactly the chart they had. I figured this is 1949 to 1951. It's worn. It's not in very good shape. And the corners are rounded. Now that's something, because if you have squared off corners, I don't have one here, but I'm going to show you another lighter with squared off squared off corners. Let's see here. Okay, well, let's see. Here's one with sort of squared off, you know, kind of sharper cut. Some of these are rounded, but anyways, yep, they're all rounded. Anyway, so if you find the squared off bottom, large Zippo letters, you've got a treasure, especially if it has some kind of promotion on it for whatever product, or it was from Vietnam, the Korean War. I actually happened to find, it's not a Zippo, but it says to Tiger from all the old gang hut, 1419, Korea, 1956. Now this is not a Zippo. It's actually, a cone wall super, it says. There's so many different lighters. This is Howard. This one's kind of fun. It says Guam Island. So this was probably wartime too. But again, that's another company. But you want to pay attention to the Zippos because those are the collectibles. I don't know if it's because of the quality, maybe. But okay, so moving on, I gave you an example of a Zippo that's selling. You can do your own research on that. Okay, so there's all the different lighters that I had. If you find them in the box, never used, you really found a treasure. We're talking a Zippo lighter, old, couple thousand for sure. And I know you're thinking, well, that's insane. You know what? That's why I'm here doing this show, because before we even get into the house, people are throwing this stuff away all the time. And they say, yeah, but we got our crystal. Guess what? Unless it's Waterford, Backrack, Lalique, nobody wants it. Or something from the mid-century that's, Italian glass or something like that. This vase is worth $2, $3. That's it. Or they'll say, my jewelry. Well, even a diamond ring. Of course, people want the value for the gold. But you might get $400 for a small diamond ring. Whereas you got a stuffed animal, maybe not Santa Claus, but a stuffed animal from Rushton that's worth $1,000 to $2,000. So, all right. So one of the other things I want to talk to you about is food packaging. All right. So with this, I'm going to show you a picture of a Kellogg's cereal box. Okay. So this is a flattened out cereal box. This asking price on this 1950s cornflake box is $499. Okay, now you see a 1980s Rainbow Bright. She sold for $2,000. I found this on Etsy. This from the 1980s. All right, so now I'm going to show you some of my own stuff here. All right, so I have here a whole box. I got it at what was an auction where they didn't clean out much of the kitchen cabinets. Some Jell-O. This is full. These are full, never used. And people would be like, what the heck you got those for, Patty? Well, I'm going to sell the whole box because we're never used. Okay, they still have, not that I'm going to cook with them. Don't do that. Okay, basically, people, look at this, Clinton. All right, anyways, lemon pudding, Clinton. Anyways, so people use these for props or just to set them on a shelf, just for fun, kind of kitschy. Anyways, the whole box is full. Here's a new instant imitation banana. That ought to be interesting. What was it then if it's not banana? We have Yellowstone spices. Interesting, because after the series Yellowstone, right? Cool. I got this whole box for a couple of bucks. Frank's Dove ground cloves. All right, so this box with all the Jell-O, here's the old Knox gelatin that people used to cook and make those ridiculous Jell-O mold salads. I'm like, you don't mix sugar in salad. At least I don't. Okay, so that we've got that. Here's another little thing of mixed vegetable flakes. Well, I have the real stuff when you can have flakes. All right, so what else do I want to talk about here? Okay, things that were promotionals. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember Funny Face drink mixes from the 1960s. Okay, so I'm going to mention the things to you. Goofy Grape, Rootin' Tootin' Raspberry, Lefty Lemon, Freckle-Faced Strawberry, Loudmouth Lemon, okay, Choo Choo Cherry, and Jolly Ollie Orange. Okay, so I found these cups at an estate sale. So this here, I believe, is Jolly Ollie Orange, and I know this is Goofy Grape, I'm not sure about these guys. They might be Kool-Aid. I'm not sure. And there's freckle-faced strawberry. Okay, so each one of these cups, you put these online, you know, based on their condition, they sell for $20 to $30. So when you have a set of 6 or whatever, that adds up. Again, $100, $200. Things that go into the trash. So here is an ad from, you know, the funny face characters by Pillsbury. Pillsbury came out with it in the 60s. And they tried to do a remake. I think they tried to bring it back later in the 1980s, but it didn't fly too well. Sugar-free product. But yeah, these are all things, like I said, that end up in the trash every day. Here's another really nice lighter that was never even used. It's 1972. But I actually noticed, oops, I forgot to tell you about this one. Yeah, this is another lighter. Camel. Camel's another good one. You see that? Remember Camel cigarettes? That company, they don't even have it on there. So that must be pretty old. Here's another lighter that looks like a camera. Anyways, do your research on that. But since I have them out here, I want to talk to you. This will be the next show that I'll get more in detail about this. T-shirts. Crappy, holy T-shirts. Even if they're ripped, holes in them, but they're Harley, 3D, or made in the USA, or concert T-shirts, okay? This is a Fleetwood Mac, the Tusk Tour, 1979, 1980. Now, anything like this, I haven't put them online yet, but anything like this is going to sell for at least $100. People just go right into the closet and they start pulling out the clothes and they put them in big bags and they throw them off to the Goodwill. Guess what? The Goodwill made $8 billion in a year off of our cast-offs. So just wanted you to think about this stuff. Here is the Brave Bullet Band. I'm not familiar with that one. And the Marshall Tucker Band, one of my favorites. I just saw them not too long ago here in Omaha, Nebraska. It was really, really a good concert. Those guys can still, even in their late 70s, they got it. So anyways, here's my book, Stop Throwing Cash in the Trash. You can find it on Amazon. And I think that's all we're going to talk about today. So till next time, happy treasure hunting.